Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Bucket List by Only in Your State. I'm here with my co-host Sarah. Hi Sarah.
Hello, Marissa. Welcome to 2024.
I know I cannot believe it. It's the start of a new year. Just for anybody watching this on YouTube, we did not plan to dress the same today. However, it just so happened to work out in our favor. Just quietly representing Only in Your State every chance we get.
I don't mind it. I think we look great.
Should we consider this our official podcast uniform?
I mean, maybe it makes laundry day easier for me, meaning I will just not do it and leave it out.
We got to talk to Catherine. Catherine, can you send me one sweatshirt for every day of the week, please?
Perfect. Yes.
So today we are officially kicking off season 4 of our podcast. And if you've been following along, then you already know that each season, Sarah and I are talking about something different, but all of it is travel related. So we've covered small town getaways, local lore and legends, essential road trip stops, which was last season. And this season, we're doing something a bit different. We are taking some of Only in Your State's best articles and we are digging deep into each featured location within those articles. So, this is our premiere episode. And what we've decided to do for this episode is we're going to highlight one of Only in Your State's most popular tent poles. Shout out to Megan Shute, hidden gems. And for the past few years, our local travel experts at Only in Your State carefully curate a list of the best hidden gems across America. And this 2024 list, in my opinion, is the best yet. I've had so much fun. We have an interactive map on the article link, which we'll throw in the show notes for you. And I don't know, you've obviously scoured over these spots, I'm sure, as well. Did you, what do you think compared to the previous years that we've done this for this list?
Every year has just been really exciting, not going to lie. I feel like we top ourselves every year. Love 2024's list. Love the map. I think that it's really hard to compare because there are so many amazing spots each year. And, we took a different approach of categorizing them this year, which I thought was really fun. Instead of just by region, we kind of did it by natural feature. And yeah, I feel like there is so many really legit spots just to like put on your to-do list this year. And yeah, I don't know. It's by the end of this, I feel like we're going to have this giant comprehensive bucket list of things that people need to do, all of the hidden gems ever in the United States. So it's going to be great. This year, really exciting, but you know what? You got to stop and see the past years too, because they were great.
Yeah, that's true. And so, just for everybody that's unfamiliar, when we say hidden gems, we're pretty much talking about those one of a kind destinations in each state that maybe doesn't get the recognition that it deserves as a stopover, as a road trip must. Um, and in this list in particular, we're featuring island trails in Maine, which are only accessible when there's low tide, or an international dark sky park in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of these places that maybe are off the beaten path or wouldn't make the top 10 list when you Google, but they're still well worth a visit.
Yes. And even if you are a state native and you recognize them, like there's one from Ohio on the list that I have heard about lots of times and even seen myself. And then I thought, yes, this is a great place to feature. But it's also something that other, people from other states should come to visit. Like it's worth traveling for, it's worth seeing. So, it's just, yeah, these little known places, and from a relative to the US, even if you've heard of them in the States, still worth going. These are great places.
Yeah.
Honest to Pete.
Yeah, and I do like that. So it's a very, I would say, spread out list of places. And each year there is something different. So it's not necessarily if, let's say, for example, I live in Florida, I'm not going to have 10 to 15 places in Florida on this list.
Right.
This is more a comprehensive across the US kind of thing, which I think is very cool because part of why we do what we do at Only in Your State is to inspire travel. And
Mm-hmm.
we really want people to travel, not just within your state, but also get out there and explore other states as well.
Absolutely. And if you look over the years, we have made a concerted effort to try and cover different states every year. So don't just, think that, oh, they are going to cover, Arizona every year. Like maybe we have for a couple of years, but you got to keep checking in because we find these amazing places based on our travel experts, on our communities, and people write in and suggest things. So definitely keep looking every year.
Yeah. And I do like that every place, if you're on our landing page for 24 hidden gems for 2024, and if you're on the page, you will get a little summary of what the place is about. There's a photo that you'll be able to check out as well. Then there's also a YouTube video that you can watch. And then if you click on it, it'll open up into an entire article about that hidden gem. So you're getting a ton
Hmm.
of information, which I feel like is very representative of what we're trying to accomplish this season in pairing our podcast episodes with our articles. It's going to be like the one stop shop for these places in the US.
Absolutely. And we've covered so many amazing things. I know we've referenced them in some of our episodes, but this year we're going to take a stab at really highlighting some of the best from our site. And I think that, readers and listeners both are going to enjoy it.
Yeah. So, yeah, just going through this list, I don't know if there was anything that stuck out to you off the top of your head that, you wanted to add to your travel itinerary or something maybe. Because for me personally, looking at this list, there were so many places I've never even heard of. And I've traveled a lot.
Yeah, there were quite a few that I didn't know. Aside from the one in Ohio that I have been familiar with, most of the other ones were novel to me. So, yeah, I think that's the thing that stood out the most. There's places that I don't know how to pronounce. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do my best, and I didn't know existed.
Yes. Yeah. One of the one of mine was in it's in New Mexico. It's Ghost Ranch, formerly Georgia O'Keeffe's house, and
Hmm.
it's in the Abiquiu. I had to learn how to pronounce that because Abiquiu, New Mexico. Did not know, and yeah, so that's something that stuck out to me right off the bat. We've talked about New Mexico before and how much we love the
Yeah.
desert landscapes, how it's just like this, kind of middle of nowhere state in terms of that towns are pretty separated, cities are pretty separated. You have a vast expanse of desert in between. And so this one stuck out to me, Ghost Ranch, as something
Hmm.
that I'm definitely adding to my list.
Yeah, I mean, really, I want to get down to it and start talking about, first of all, the different categories that we are featuring this year for
Yeah.
2024, which I
Yeah.
thought was really interesting. So, first, we have Wondrous Waters. We have all of these water features, and most of them being naturally made. And then we also have, with a couple of exceptions, we also have Unforgettable Experiences. We have Natural Secrets. So, like those hidden gem experiences that maybe are tucked away within a park that you didn't realize were there. And then we have some man-made gems, similar to what you were talking about with Ghost Ranch, of like just you got to see it for yourself. Places across the U.S.
Yeah. I think that's very cool to categorize. Because it's like one of my favorite books growing up, book series, Choose Your Own Adventure.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like what it's like when you go on this landing page for Hidden Gems 2024. If you're selecting by category and then you get, for example, these unforgettable experiences, and then you have a list or a handful of unforgettable experiences that you can choose, and maybe tailor a weekend trip around one to two of these places, and have your own choose your own adventure
Yeah.
series.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, if looking at this map and clicking around, because it is broken down by region but also by the categories that Sarah just described, um were there any to you, was there a category to you in particular that you really gravitated towards, or maybe a couple places that, I don't know, you really you fell in love with at first sight?
I mean, I think the Wondrous Waters is something that I love going to any destination that has a water feature or something central to the experience. So that for me, in addition to the unforgettable experiences, because I like to go out and do, are probably the two categories I was the most excited about. How about you?
Yeah. No, for sure. Wondrous Waters. I am always down for. We talk about that a lot on this podcast. I feel like every
Mm-hmm.
season we talk about just being by the water and how that speaks to us, in different ways. And so one of the Wondrous Waters experiences involved whale watching in Alaska, which I feel like you can't find a better experience right on the water than, watching whales breach the surface in an adorable village in Alaska.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, if anybody just going to this map, you have some places that speak to you. And for example, I know that there was really only one on this list that I was familiar with that I've been to, Venetian Pool, which is in Florida, the largest freshwater pool in the world. We've mentioned it before on the podcast, and it is incredible. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Um, and it's in South Florida. Beautiful spring water pool. And you could just kind of spend the day there. The architecture of the surrounding buildings are insane. It's kind of, you'll feel like you stepped into the Mediterranean. So this is an incredible place. Were there any places on the list for you, Sarah, that you've already been to? I know you mentioned there
Yeah,
was.
so the Mohican tree houses in Ohio. I've been to Logan and Mohegan Falls, down in Mohican, because there's you can canoe, you can do these like little adventure courses, and the Mohican tree houses that are down there are absolutely beautiful. They're in the forest down there near Logan, and it's just like a gorgeous place that you can stay overnight. And they have these like honest to God tree houses that you can stay in, and they're usually a little bit primitive. They have bathrooms and showers and things like that, but they're just absolutely stunning. One of those like family or date nights that you would never forget. You're staying in this like cute tree house with all this lighting in the middle of the woods, and you can go canoeing or go on adventure courses or go hiking, and it's just perfect.
Cute.
Yeah, it's really really cool.
How fun. Who wouldn't want to stay in a treehouse? I mean, like
I
of all
I
ages.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Um,
sorry. Not I misspoke. Loudonville, not Logan. Logan is for Hocking Hills. Sorry, fellow Ohioans. But I thought that sounded a little bit strange. But yeah, in Loudonville, that's where I've gone for like canoeing and hiking. So
cool.
yeah,
Neat. There was one actually under the natural secrets category, the Alvord Desert in Oregon, which I did not know this existed. And it's just like this giant expanse of beautiful cracked earth, and it's a desert that you wouldn't expect to find in Oregon when you think it's like, just pine trees and beautiful
yeah,
greenery. And so that to me I was very surprised with, didn't know it existed. And it also has a hot springs and bathhouse at the edge of the desert, which who doesn't love a hot spring?
that's true.
um yeah, so that one definitely is adding I'm adding to my list for next time
Uh,
I'm on the West Coast.
yeah, for sure.
Cool. So, Wondrous Waters is one of the categories. We've talked about water features a lot on this podcast. A lot of our
Yeah,
small towns that we featured in small town getaways were right on the water, which just adds to the allure, in my opinion. But in this
yeah.
category, we have a handful of curated places, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I feel like I always drift back to it because it is so peaceful and interesting. There are cool things to do. So, I know you mentioned earlier about, one of these island trails, but in Bar Harbor, there's actually this inland oasis that is hidden because it's only accessible during low tide. It's one of those disappearing trails that you have to like wait for the right time of day that you can wander out. It's a short trail. It's less than 2 miles. So it's not something that's like overly difficult for you to do, but it's something that is unlike any other, trail in the US, I think. I mean, there might be some, but then we
Yeah.
also have this incredible fishing spot in Missouri that we featured on one of these lakes called Lake Tinicomo. And it is just one of those beautiful, clear lakes in Branson that, I think is one of maybe be overlooked sometimes, or if you're familiar with fishing and you only head up to the Great Lakes, it's something that you would want to travel down and experience yourself. There are islands named the Le Chenot Islands along Lake Huron. Speaking of the Great Lakes, if you're into exploring different islands and island hopping, then this spot in Michigan. Honestly, there's so many amazing spots in the Great Lakes region, so along the coast of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, where there are just like these little hidden gem spots. But these Le Chenot Islands are particularly beautiful. And then we also have a hot spring that is, one of these natural hot springs that you can stumble across and just take a soak. And it's just surrounded by fir trees in Washington, and just one of those Pacific Northwest gems that you would feel like you're not even in the United States if you're visiting. And we're also covering something we spoke about before, which is the Venetian Pool in Coral Gables. And that is man made, but also like a hot spring that
Cool spring.
a cool
Cool spring.
spring, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool spring in in Coral Gables, and it's just what, the largest in the world.
Largest freshwater pool in the world. Yeah.
And this is something you've been to yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in Coral Gables. It's absolutely beautiful. Very unique hidden gem that not a lot of people know even exists, cuz you go to Florida, especially South Florida, you spend a lot of time in at Miami Beach, North Miami Beach,
Mm-hmm.
Biscayne. But yeah, this is a really beautiful pool with there are grottos, with boulders, waterfalls, and it's a spring-fed pool. That means it's cool water,
Yeah,
and almost 100 years it's been around, which pretty incredible.
that's wild. And it
Yeah,
doesn't look like it even belongs in the US. So you're like transported to Europe if
yeah,
you're visiting these pools. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, outside of the water features that we have for this Hidden Gems 2024, the other category that is something I'm very interested in, unforgettable experiences, because I love staying busy and being active and doing things that are outside of my wheelhouse, it's taking me out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
So we feature on this list the Cass Scenic Railroad, and this is West Virginia. Beautiful, beautiful railroad that takes you on a round trip journey. I think it's about 5 hours round trip, or you could do
Yep.
a 2 hour excursion. But it's a heritage railroad, and highly recommend during fall. We have a couple
Have you?
photos.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, just we have a couple photos on the website that showcase the fall foliage. So like that's the time to go. I feel like if you really want to see what West Virginia is all about.
Have you ever been on like a railroad or historic rail in the US?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I wasn't expecting a lot, to be honest. I don't know why that was my mindset, but and then it just kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I was just like, oh, this is gonna be kind of just like, a railroad, and wow, nature's beautiful. But then you're on it and you're like, holy moly, nature really is beautiful.
And I love historic trains. Like I grew up in a train town, so it was like a depot for during like World War II, and like they have historic trains there, and you can take train rides, and it's just like a awesome blast from the past, just to like
Yeah.
sit on the old train, and I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. I agree. I also love train travel in general, just as a
Oh my
means
god,
of transportation. It's one of my favorite.
I wish we had more interconnected rail. Come on,
I
Amtrak, you can
know.
do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so more unforgettable experiences. We already mentioned Ghost Ranch in northern New Mexico, inspired by Georgia O'Keeffe. Now it's
Which,
just a
by the
beautiful.
way, this place just looks incredible.
I know. I don't know what it is about the desert that is so
Hmm.
magical to me. It's just, a lot of people probably find it barren and boring, but I don't know, man.
Mm-mm. It's an
I love
adventure.
the desert. Yeah.
Also called Ghost Ranch. Love Georgia O'Keeffe. Love the desert. Like it feels like a you got to take it kind of trip.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And then we have a picturesque byway that you can drive in the mountains, Oklahoma and Arkansas. That's another one. There's a Viking yurt that's in Park City,
I
Utah,
definitely want to do this. So
right? Right?
yeah,
Like when I saw it and I was like, what is a Viking yurt? And it's a whole dining experience.
yeah.
You
I
have a
wanna
sleigh
I wanna
ride.
have some. yeah, like meat, and I want to sing songs, and I want to have big hunks of meat. But
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That you, you
yeah,
just summed it up right there.
yeah.
Yeah, 6-course gourmet feast, and there's about 30 people in this yurt. You guys are all dining together. You have a sleigh ride up the mountain, and wow, what a like talk about yes, unforgettable experience.
And I really hope it's like one of those unforgettable slash educational. I
Yeah.
love Norse history and mythology, and I just think it's, I don't know, it'd really fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we already mentioned the whale watching tour in Alaska, which I just feel like all of these unforgettable experiences. Kudos to the Only in Your State team for this
Yeah.
category because I think they really nailed it.
Yeah, and maybe it should be on our official work to-do list that we need to do all of these things this year. That is,
Love
I mean,
that. Would love that. Writing down right now.
yep.
Um,
It's part of
yeah,
our job. Got to do
I
it.
wish.
So in
Yes.
addition to water features, I keep saying water feature, that's like a fountain, but you know what I mean. Wondrous waters and unforgettable experiences. We have some of these natural secrets, and these, to me, it's like an otherworldly experience. You don't expect to see what you're gonna see. So like that desert, the Alfred Desert in Oregon, just cracked earth spanning for like as far as you can see, basically, and it just looks like you're on an alien planet.
Yeah, very
And
Mad Max esque.
have you ever been through it?
No, no. This is one I'm adding to my list 100%. I did not know it existed. I am like all in on this one right here.
Also, with the hot springs and bathhouse, like, yeah, that's
Right.
wander through this alien desert and then go for a soak. I think that sounds like
Yeah,
perfect.
and no light pollution either. So at night,
Hmm.
you're getting just stars galore.
Which is glorious and beautiful, but also is like slightly suffocating and terrifying in a weird way. Like that, I'll dig into that later on my own. Just, but it's wild.
Yeah.
So then we also covered in Alabama, we have a wildlife refuge, the Bon Secours, I think is how you would say it, is the National Wildlife Refuge in Alabama. And it's one of the largest undisturbed coastal habitats in the state, probably even in the South. It's just a large space with a lot of beautiful places to stop and watch wildlife. And it's over 7,000 acres. So you're going to find places to
Huge.
explore. It's, yeah, absolutely giant. And if you're into birding, which I feel like may be a natural progression where we all experience, do we all get into birding as we age?
I think so. I want to say yes to this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you are into birding and you want to check out the birds, there's over 370 species of birds identified within the boundaries of the refuge.
That's cool.
That's a lot of birds.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things about my trip out to the national parks this year was seeing. I'm from crow country. I have crow friends, or I want crow friends, but seeing like the actual ravens and how giant they are, they're
Yeah.
dogs. It's
Yes.
amazing.
They are
So
huge.
yeah. And then in Arizona, we have the Canyon de Shelly. Is it Shelly or Chelly? Do you know?
I would say Kenyan du Shelley.
Yeah.
Because DE in
Yeah.
French, isn't that du?
De de
Who
de
am I?
Shelly. I don't.
What am I
Who,
teaching
am
French now?
who, who
Get
am
out of here,
I?
Marissa.
Having an existential crisis mid podcast, completely acceptable. But so this is like one of these otherworldly rock formations and canyons in the middle of the desert that you want to stumble upon throughout, like Death Valley and Monument Valley and all these things. But for this spot in Arizona in the Northeast, it's just one I haven't heard of before. It's not the Grand
Same.
Canyon. It's not, these other things you drive by. I thought it was gorgeous. And there's even this one particular stone outcropping that's just kind of like by itself in the middle, like a pillar that goes up. And yeah, this canyon is gorgeous.
Like you mentioned these spires, these giant sandstone
Yes, that's
spires that are just like standing
fire.
straight up and
Hmm.
super, super unique.
Yeah, and just imagine being on the canyon floor and like looking up at these things, just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Um, Another more sandy desert area is the giant Texas Sandhill State Park, the Monahan Sandhill State Park, which I love me a good dune. I love me a good expanse of sand, and this is one that's not going to disappoint. They're up to 70 feet high. They're like 3,800 acres of sand dunes in Texas, and it's just, I don't know, you feel like you're in some kind of movie or alien planet walking through there. We also are featuring the Chattahoochee-Oconee National Forest, and that's in Georgia. And have you been through this forest at all? Being
So
from
driving
down,
through,
yeah.
yes, many, many times, but I have written about this place because, fun fact, I used to be the Georgia writer for Only in Your State
Hey,
many moons ago. But yes, this is a really, really beautiful national forest that I
yeah.
highly recommend to anybody that has the time and just wants to hike and camp, drive. It's beautiful.
That's one thing I like about some of the national forests, especially in the, like Midwest, Eastern coast of part of the US, is that I feel like it's very accessible by car and you're not driving 10 hours to the middle of somewhere and then 10 hours back.
Yes.
Like you're able to get there and back in a day.
Yeah.
So, and then we also have the Ringing Rocks in Montana, which I just love. I've never been there, but it's basically a pile of stones that, because of the echoing and the wind, they say that they're ringing. I've
Yeah.
never experienced it or heard it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No, very unique. And you can
because,
also tap them too, right?
well, yeah, like because of the like the echoes, but then if you hit it, it's gonna like ding
Produce a
ding.
sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I love that. That's also should be, see, I love that within these categories, there are some that are, they can be cross categorized because Ringing Rocks, that's more of a also unforgettable experience that you can grab a hammer on site and just kind of make your own little tunes on these rocks.
I don't know about you, but it reminds me of going on a hiking trail, and there's a lot of like rock fall. And as beautiful as it is to like hear like your pebbles echo down in between the rocks, and it's quite melodic and beautiful, it's also a little bit scary because those rocks aren't held in place by anything but themselves. So, like,
Right.
if a rock fell off, it's not going to be ringing anymore, but it's going to be maybe on you. So,
Yes. True.
okay. And then we also have, I think, a couple of more I just want to mention. We have the Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota, which is just like in the heart of the Badlands. And if you haven't seen a picture of what we're talking about, it is one of those places in the United States that truly, I know I've said it a couple times, but looks like an alien landscape. It's otherworldly. There are incredible rock outcroppings and then expansive fields next to them, all kinds of unique geology and things to explore there. So,
Yeah.
and then we have one more, the Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota. And now this is another one where if you go camping in Voyageurs National Park, you're gonna get some dark sky.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
And also, some of the oldest rocks on the planet are here in this park,
Yeah.
which I think is very fascinating in northern Minnesota. Like, who'd have thunk that?
Yeah. I mean, we were all underwater at one point, and eventually the glaciers were like, bye, and it left us with all these amazing old glacial rocks that are just, yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, I also, Minnesota's on my list of like top, I would say top 3 states that I've never been to that I really want to go to. Minneapolis in particular, I heard has an
Hmm.
incredible culinary scene, which is part of why I want to go. But
Yep.
yes, I would throw this for sure. This national park would be on my list to visit.
Yeah, between the geology, the dark sky, just the beautiful northern area of the country, I think it's, yeah, definitely one to see.
Yeah, and so the last category we have for hidden gems, 2024 man-made gems. You can't forget about these man-made places, attractions. They're worth visiting just because they might not have been produced by nature or
Yeah.
melting glaciers. Still worthwhile. So the Amana colonies in Iowa kicks this off. This is basically just kind of like one of those small towns you should check out if you're traveling and you might not know to exist in Iowa, huge state. And if you're driving through, I would say go here. This was established as a communal colony back in the mid 1800s. And German immigrants were seeking religious freedom in the US. They established these places as communal colonies. And now it's a place to go where you can eat delicious food, drink delicious wine and beer, and live like the locals.
I love how it's described, like the 7 historic villages of hospitality and harmony. It sounds great. Eat the good food, drink the good drink. That, yeah.
Utopia over there
Mhm.
with beer steins, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and so next we also have the Mohicans tree houses, which
Yes.
we mentioned already and discussed because who
And
wouldn't
not in
want
Logan, but in Loudon.
not yeah.
Got
Uh,
it.
yeah, so who wouldn't want to stay? There are 9 unique tree houses here, which you can bring your whole family reunion. I don't know, get married there. What?
I will say they are popular and rightfully so. So if you
Yeah,
want to go stay at these tree houses, which if you have to go to the landing page and look at these gorgeous little tree houses, you got to book them way in advance, but it's so worth it. Trust me. Just
yeah,
put your name on the summer list now, and yeah,
cool.
it's so cool. Who wouldn't want to live in a tree house? Like the kid inside is just gonna be so happy with you.
Yes, 100%. And sky bridges too, wooden walkways leading to every treehouse. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really neat. Yeah. Then we're heading over to Southern California. There is a glass chapel that overlooks the water. Doesn't get much better than that. It's called Wayfarer's Chapel. And this is a very, very unique hidden gem where people go to get married, they go to um, hang out for the day, picnic, enjoy just this beautiful architecture, which was built by the son of Frank Lloyd Wright, who's
No
just Lloyd
surprise
Wright.
there. Yeah, if you see it, you're like, this is looking a little familiar. Love it. It's
Mm,
gorgeous.
beautiful, yes. And heading over to New Jersey, Cowtown Rodeo, which I grew up in New Jersey, didn't even know this existed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the oldest weekly professional rodeos in the entire country. And it runs from late May through September every single year. It's been taking place since 1929. So,
Wow.
yeah, if you love rodeos, this is the place for you in New Jersey.
Would you go to a rodeo?
Um, Now, in my later years, probably not. Would you go to a
Like, in my
rodeo?
old age. All right. I mean, yeah, it's I don't know how I'd feel. I Whenever I see people barrel racing, it stops my heart. I feel like the horses are sideways as they're running.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but just maybe for the history alone, I feel like it would be worth it. Uh,
I
yeah,
would want to show up outside the rodeo after hours and give as many carrots to horses as I could. I could
that
do that.
sounds more my speed. I would probably do that. Great,
They'll just
great
be
job
shooing me
today,
away.
Buster.
You did great.
So, and then we're heading over to New York, right next to New Jersey, at the Belhurst Castle and Winery, which you combine a castle and winery in one. That sounds like a dream come true,
Yep.
especially if you're in the Finger Lakes, again, right on the water. And this one looks beautiful. I'm always looking for fun things to do in New York, even
Yeah.
outside of just Manhattan and Brooklyn, and traveling a little bit up north. And there's a lot of delicious wine up there that people might not know to exist.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but
And I feel like we've covered places to go near the Finger Lakes before. I think there was a small town up there that we covered, right? I think.
yes, yes, I think you're
Yeah.
definitely right. We have
I would
talked about, yeah, upstate New York more.
I really want I've never been. I would love to go. It's yeah, and I'm going to go to this castle and winery and it's going to be fabulous.
Yeah, no, it looks incredible. And that rounds out our list of 24 hidden gems. We've just briefly touched on these, but if you go to our website, onlyinyourstate.com, we have a landing page for Hidden Gems 2024, which I will put in the show notes. And then you can go and kind of explore each one on your own, take your time, choose your own adventure, make a travel itinerary list for the year.
Absolutely. Definitely. I know we went really quickly and we just kind of skimmed, but, and also I misspoke 20 times. And you know what? Look for yourself. These are such a great list. And look through the past list. I know I said it earlier, but we had covered some really cool places in previous years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just spend some time and it'll help you plan some adventures in the United States. So,
Yeah. Definitely. And so stay tuned for our entire season, season 4 of our podcast, Not Your Average Bucket List. Sarah and I are going to be basically taking a magnifying glass to these Only in Your State articles that are already published. They're already on our website, but we're going to take that information there and we're going to pretty much multiply it by 10, giving you full episodes per article. So it's basically per attraction, we'll say, for
yep.
a lot of these featured places. And hopefully we can give you more information and inspire you guys to go and check out these spots this year.